Hello everyone. We're gonna wait a little bit, like probably 2 or 3 more minutes, so that everybody has time to join. Alright, so it's 5 past the hour, so we're gonna start. Gonna resume recording.
Recording in progress.
So welcome everyone. I'm Nicola Love. I'm an informatics solution leader at BDB Informatic, aka Flojo. You have my email address here on this slide. Don't hesitate to reach out to me if you have any question. So for today's webinar, we're gonna talk about the BD Research Cloud and Flojo V10. So before I jump into the training, we're gonna do some slide, and after we're just gonna go a live training on the software. So usually when I train on Flojo, I get a lot of questions, and usually people say flow cytometry is hard, and doing the analysis even sometimes even harder. So here's usually the question I get: How do I know if my result is real? Is one of the example. Panel design is hard. I had to do the normalization, the spread, the compensation is a big issue, etc., etc. And if you look, all the one in gray, panel design is hard, annotation and re-annotation, and the data are too big, and usually it's because it's an issue in the data management. How do I manage my data? Where do I store it? Etc. All those issues can now be solved with our new tool, which is called the BD Research Cloud. If you already have a Flojo account, you just need to go on our BD Research Cloud website, and you can log in with your Flojo account, and it will open the BD Research Cloud automatically. If you don't, you just click on create an account over there, and you will create a BD Research Cloud account. BD Research Cloud is free for use. for a small group of users, up to 5. If you need more storage, or if you need to have BD Research Cloud for a bigger institution, just contact us, and there's going to be some fees associated to it. So what's a BD Research Cloud? BD Research Cloud is a comprehensive ecosystem for research flow cytometry experiment. So it's an online tool that integrates all the research flow cytometry research platform into one solution. So our idea when we created this BD Research Cloud was to regroup all the tools that's needed to do your flow cytometry experiment. So to do your flow cytometry experiment, you need to first know your cytometer. Then you need to know the reagent that you have either in your fridge or what's available commercially. Then after, you need to design your panel. But to design your panel first, you need to know your different population, the one you need to target. So we have default one here, but you can create your own if you want. And after your panel, you're just picking the fluorescence that are available with for each marker that you have in your population. We're going to give you tips and tricks there when you pick the different reagent. Make sure that you pick something that is going to work for your instrument, and after you get your panel. After you did your panel, you're going to want to do your experiment on the instrument. So if you have a BDFAX DIVA instrument, you're going to have to go normally on the instrument and create your whole BD experiment on the instrument. So if you're using the instrument from a core, you're probably going to be charged by the minute to create all this experiment on the instrument. So you're going to try to do it really fast. So we realize it may be an issue for some user. So now in BD Research Cloud, you can create your own experiment there as well. So like that, when you go on the instrument, you just recall the experiment that you created on the BD Research Cloud, and you just have to acquire and record your data. Another tools that we have is the workflow. Maybe it's not the same person that's doing the whole experiment. So here with the workflow, you can assign different tasks to different person. And one of the last one is your data. So your data, after you're recording your data on the instrument, you can export your data from the instrument on BD Research Cloud, and those data will be stored there in the cloud. And Flojo can read this data automatically, so you never have to try to find a USB key to transfer your data from your instrument to your analysis computer. And the last one is project and group. We realize that you may be part of many projects, so you can organize your data and your instrument and everything based on a different project, and you can assign different users for different projects. So really the idea behind the BD Research Cloud is to be able to increase collaboration, be able to share the data, because now the data is on the cloud, so it's easier to share it between different users, and to be able to better organize your lab and your data. And if you use all the tools in the BD Research Cloud, we think that you're going to be able to really grow your lab's potential as because you're going to be able to do the best flow cytometry experiment as possible. So let's go a little bit more in detail. So in your panel, so you're gonna be able to select your instrument specifically. You're gonna be able to build your target population and the reagent that you have. We support any type of instrument, so you can of course hold the BD instrument, but also you can create any custom instrument if you don't have a BD instrument, or if your instrument is really a special configuration. And you're allowed to remote collaborate on the panel design as well, so you're able to share your panel between a different person. And we also have backbone panel. So if you want to use OMIP, so if you don't know what OMIP is, there are published panel that was published on Cytometry Part A journal. So if you want to take one of those OMIP panel and recreate it for you, you can just recall that OMIP panel, or we have also some BD predefined panel that you can start with. I see there's a question in the chat. Right. So yes. So you're in South Africa. So the BD Research Lab is really based on the country. So not every country right now have it available. South Africa right now is not available yet. So talk to your local rep there and ask him to set it up. So each BD local had to set it up. All right. So experiment, as I say, you can create your device experiment away from the instrument. So you can add all your reagent, all your parameter. You can add your keywords as well. So if you already created the panel in BD Research Lab, it's going to pull up all the information from your panel. So the reagent name, even the lot number. You're going to be able to add some keyword if you want on it. So like that, just make it easier to annotate your sample. You're going to be able to adjust the PMT voltage as well. Even if you don't see the data, but you know exactly what PMT you need to use, you can adjust that, and you're gonna be able to create all your dot plot and gate away from the instruments. The workflow, as I say, is between a different users. So if you have different persons doing different tasks, you can really set up all the experiment from A to Z and say task A to D, it's John, and E to F, it's Amanda, and etc. etc. So every time you're gonna be at that step, the next person will receive a notification that it's their turn to do the experiment. The data, so data can be is stored there, so it's available from BD Research Lab. It's integrated into Flojo, so you can recall this data. I'll show you that in the live demo. My data is on my BD Research Lab. Instrument, as I say, you can upload any instrument configuration. So if you have a BD instrument, you can just upload the BD instrument configuration automatically. If you don't have a BD instrument, you're gonna have to create for some instrument, you're gonna have to create from scratch. We also have the Cytek Aurora, for example, there in the BD Research Lab that you can select if that's the instrument you have. Reagent, as I say, all the BD catalog is available, but you can also create any custom reagent, and you can assign them if you have them already in your fridge or not. Population, we have a predefined population like naive, CD4, the Treg, etc. They already have all the markers needed to characterize those cells. If those are not the cells you're looking for, this is not in your list, so and you can just customize it. So the big advantage is when you create your panel, instead of saying I want CD3, CD4, CD25 for the Treg, you can just say, I want Treg population, and they're going to put all those markers, CD3, CD4, FOXP3, CD25, CD127, but negative for CD19 and CD8. All right, so if you want to know more about BD Research Cloud, just go on our website, flojo.com. We go in the webinar where we are now. We have a 1 hour webinar on BD Research Cloud where we're going to give you all the information, all the tips and tricks. All right, so let's jump now into Flojo V1010. So if you're totally new to Flojo, how to install Flojo, just go on our website, flojo.com. Click on the download tab, and in download tab, you're gonna have the latest version of Flojo. We are currently in version 10.10. You can download it either for PC or for Mac. If you're on PC, just follow the installation wizard. If you're on Mac, just click and drag your Flojo icon to your application folder. Now that you have Flojo installed, you need a license, and there's a free type of license available for Flojo. We have the dongle, which is a USB key that you put on your computer and give you access to the software. We have the serial number, which is linked to your computer hardware address. And we have the portal, which is a credential-based login with a username and a password. Dongle and serial number, we are phasing those away. So if you still have one of those and want to switch to Portal, just contact us and we're happy to give you to exchange your dongle to a Portal account. So a Portal account, username with credentials, you can have access with those credentials on up to 4 computers. So you can have access to your lab computer, home computer, maybe a laptop, so whatever computer you want. Now that Flojo is active, that we have a license, let's look at the workspace as organized. So if we open Flojo, that's how the workspace looks like. We have on the top part the ribbon, tab, and band. We have the middle part, the group and group analysis. And we have at the bottom part the sample and sample analysis. So let's go in detail in each different part. So the ribbon, tab, and band. Every time you click on the tab, the band is changing. Band, group, action, they are similar to each other. So we have all the navigate option here, all the experiment option, all the biology option. On top of that, we have the taskbar. The taskbar is the function that we think you're going to use the most. So add sample, create group, the composition, the different layout. Your application button, which is your Flojo logo, is mostly to save your analysis. And on the top right, we have all the preferences or the configuration. So you can change the band. So if you want to have a function at a different location, you click on ribbon configuration and you can change organization of your band. So maybe, for example, if you use as, I don't know, the Boolean gate a lot instead of being in the tool tab, you can put that into Flojo tab so that you don't have to click on the tab to find that function. Preferences in Flojo, you can change everything and anything in Flojo. If you don't like that font, you can change that font. If you don't like the default dot plot, which is a pseudo color, you can change that for a contour plot or a classical dot plot. And that's where you need to click on to change. And the last one is the interrogation point, which is the documentation link. So if you don't know how to do something in Flojo, so for example, if you don't know how to do cell cycling, just click on this interrogation point. It's going to open a web page. And you can say cell cycling, and we're going to give you all the article on how to do cell cycling in Flojo, for example. So now let's go in the middle part, which is the group and group analysis. So group in Flojo play the role as a folder in your computer. So you can create as many groups as possible, and you can organize your sample in different groups. So you're going to always have the group name, the size of the group, so how many samples you have in each group, and the role of that group. And you can assign a specific role for each group. So one sample can be in many different groups. There's no issue with that. So here, for example, we have a master gate where we put most of our sample into this master gate group, but after we split our sample into different groups. Also, if you apply an analysis to the group, this analysis will have the exact same color of this group. So here on the master gate group, we apply analysis, which is time, singlet, lymphocyte, live, CD3, etc. And you see it's the exact same color as this master gate. So now let's go at the bottom part, which is the sample and sample analysis. So when you select a group in the sample and sample analysis, you will see all the sample that are located into that group. So as a default column, you can in that section, you're going to have the sample name, the statistic, which is the percentage of parents, and the total number of cells for each samples or for each specific population. You can add additional column if you want. Usually we're going to add our keyword column, but you can add other column, stats or whatever there. Also, next to your sample name, we have a 3 icon. The first icon is the diamond. Your diamond is your graph windows indicator. So graph window is where you're gonna start drawing gates. So double click on your sample name, the graph window is gonna open, and you can get draw a gate over here. And here you're gonna have a diamond showing you um, which graph windows you open or which level you are located on which sample, on which stem population. We have the circle. The circle is your sample quality check. Did you have any issue running your sample on the instrument? Did you have any air bubble, clog, anything that happened on the instrument while running your sample? So depending of the color of this circle, if it's green or blue, you had low flows and little flows on your sample. So uh, nothing really happened on the instrument. If there's any other color, so pink, orange, or red, that means you had an issue on the instrument. And we uh, recommend you to look a little bit deeper into your sample and remove all those problematic events. And the last one is the square. The square is your composition indicator. So if you have an empty square, you have no composition. If you have a grid, like here, you have a composition apply to the sample. If it's gray, usually means is a composition coming from the instrument, what we call acquisition defined. If it's any other color, usually it means is a composition coming from FlowJo that was done in FlowJo. All right, so now that the workspace is organized, I had to add data into my workspace. So you have two ways to add your data. Either your data is on your local computer. So if it's on your hard drive on your computer, just find your FCS file and click and drag those FCS files into the sample section of your workspace. You can even click and drag the whole folder. If you click and drag the whole folder, that folder will become a group with that folder name as a group name. You can also click on this add sample icon and look for your FCS file. If your data is on your BD Research Cloud, just click on the add sample, add sample from the BD Research Cloud. You're gonna have this window that open, and you can look for your FCS file over there. So you're gonna select your organization. So you may have different organization, your project, and after you find your experiment. So before we jump into the live demo, let's talk a little bit about the data I'm gonna use today. So today's data are PFIX data, so phosphorylation plus intracellular staining. They are human PBMCs. They were stimulated or not with PMA ionomyces for 2 hours. Then we block the protein secretion with Golgi stop, and we stain for viability dye, ARD, and surface antigen, CD3, CD4, CD8, CD38, and HLA-DR. Then we re-stimulate those cells with PMA ionomycins for 20 minutes, or we didn't, and we fix sperm and stain for intracellular antigen, which is phosphorylation ERK1 and 2, interferon gamma, and perforin. So we have two stimulation. So for a combination, double non-stimulated, non-stimulated, stimulated, stimulated, non-stimulated, and double stimulated. So we had 5 donors with these 4 conditions. That means we have 20 experimental sample. We also did run our FMO. FMO, if you don't know, stands for fluorescence -1. That means we put every fluorochrome on this tube except one, and that's the true gating control in flow cytometry for that fluorochrome, because if we didn't put that fluorochrome, we should not have any staining, so we know exactly where to put the gate. And also we did run our 11 composition control, which is our 9 single stain color plus 2 unstained cells and unstained beads. All right, so let's jump into the software. So I'm going to quit the PowerPoint, make sure I'm sharing the right screen. There we go. I'm going to open FlowJo 10.10. Okay, so I have a Polar account, so he asked me my credential. have a show remember me button, sorry, so like that I don't have to type my credential every time. Open Flojo. There you go. I'm licensed. All right, so just a quick reminder, if you click on your Flojo icon, it's mostly to save your analysis. If you click on the tab, you see my band is changing. If I want to modify my band, so if I want my Boolean get function into my Flojo tab, I click on my ribbon configuration right here, click and drag my Boolean get function to my band right there, and I have my Boolean get function into my Flojo tab as well as in my tool tab. If I don't want this Boolean get function anymore, I just click and get out of the software this Boolean get function, and it's going to be removed from there. Preferences, you can change everything and anything in Flojo. If you're totally new to Flojo, I recommend first time you open Flojo to go in the preferences, go into workspace, and change the display name from FCS default to use a short file. Use a short file name, file URL. Usually that gives you a better naming than the default. Also, I recommend you to turn on the enable auto save so that if your computer crash, if Flojo crash can happen, or if IT is pushing a new update and restarting your computer, at least you're not losing the whole analysis, but maximum, in my case, 10 minutes. We're gonna go license. Here it says I'm on portal. And to have the show remember me button, I just check that box so that I click on remember me and don't have to type a password every time. If you to access internet, you need a proxy. You're gonna have to put the proxy information here in Flojo as well. And that's stop for now. All right, so I'm gonna go get my data. My data, as I say, it's in BD Research Cloud. So I'm gonna click on Add Sample. Add sample from BD Research Cloud. Okay, so here I show all my different groups. I'm gonna go my lab. Okay, my training data and the prefix. That's what I want. So this one. Add sample. Okay. Starting my sample. Okay, so I put all my FCS file into the cache. So that's why a little bit slow here. Zoom is taking a lot of my internet, I'm guessing. That's why it's a little bit slow, but it's gonna get there. All right, so I have my 11 composition control here, sign, and if you look at my sample, I have my comp. If I click on all my sample, I have my comp, I have my FMO, and then I have my real sample label LD something. So my comp are labeled beads comp or cells comp, my FMO are labeled FMO something, and all my real sample are labeled LD something. So you can see that Flojo automatically has a composition group, and you automatically put my composition into that composition group. Flojo did that. So if I double click on this group name, you open the group properties, and you can see that my group composition, the way it does it, if we look in the inclusion criteria, is looking for my file name to contain the word unstained, or my file name to contain the word comp. So if you label your composition comp or unstained, you're automatically gonna put those tubes into this composition group. So that's fine. That's the way I label my composition. So that's why I automatically put my 11 composition tubes into that group. If it's not the way you do it, maybe you label your composition tubes control instead of comp. You can just change the name here from comp to control. So you can tap control and click OK, apply to change, and it will work. If it's a one-time thing, that's the way I recommend to do it. If it's every time, that's the way you're always gonna label your composition, so you don't want to change it every time. Go in the preferences, go in your composition platform, and here you can change it from comp to control, for example. And next time you open Flojo, instead of looking for comp, it's gonna look for control. Right, so he created another group, which is the name of my experiment. That was my group that was assigned in my BD Research Cloud. I don't need that group, so I'm just gonna select it and click delete. Yes, I don't want that. So now I really want to have group that represent my different samples. So I already have my group for composition. Now I need a group for my FMO, and I need a group for my real sample, my LD sample. So I'm gonna create those groups. So I can create group just by clicking on this icon here in the shortcut, or in my Flojo tab, navigate, create group. It's gonna open this window. I can name this group my FMO group. I'm gonna change the color if I want. I can put it as green, just because. Leave it plain for the style of the font. This role is a control. If I select live group, that's recommended if you want to do a template. Every new sample that will be added into your workspace will be checked if it matches the criteria of this group. If it does, that sample will be automatically put into that group. And to synchronize, if I modify a gate from one sample into that group, that gate will be modified for all the sample. So that's usually what I want for my FMO. And I'm gonna organize my FMO. Instead of just clicking and dragging my sample to that group, I can just say all the samples that are labeled FMO something in their name, just put them into that group. So I'm just going to say, look for the file name that contain the word FMO. Click on create group. And there you go. It did create my group FMO, and it put my 7 FMO in it. Now I can create a group for my LD sample. Same thing, create group. This one is for my LD samples. This one are my real, so I'm just gonna put it bold in italics so that I can see it better. This one is my real test. And I can say, look for the file name to contain the word LD, because all my samples are labeled LD. And if I click on create group, it will add all those LD samples into that group. A little bit too easy for the training. So we're gonna make it a little bit more challenging, because maybe for you, you don't label all your sample LD something or have the same character at least. So what we can say is our sample, it's everything but my FMO and comp. So how do I do that? I'm just gonna say my file name is lacking the word FMO, so they're not my FMO. And I'm gonna click on more choices. And my file name is lacking the word comp. So they're not my comp and they're not my FMO. And if I click on create group, it's gonna create my LD sample group with my 20 sample. So I have my 20 sample, 7 FMO, 11 composition control. So I have my 38 sample assigned. All right, so now that I have my sample organized into different groups, now I want to make sure that my label are correct. So We're not going to talk about composition today. It's going to take too much time. There's a webinar on composition. You can go watch them. So we have a composition apply on it. The composition is acquisition defined, and it was good to go. So now to analyze it, I just want to make sure that when I look at my fluorochrome, I have a labels telling me if it's my CD3, CD4, CD8. So how do I do that? I go in configure, edit column, and in edit column, I have the list of all my keyword included in my FCS files right there. So the first keyword I want to check is my fluorescence. So I'm just going to select all my fluorescence right there and click on add column and click OK. And now I can see, select on our sample, I can see that my CD8 is on pack blue, my P Texas red is my CD4, my P Psi7 is interferon gamma, P Psi5 is CD38, etc., etc. So if I didn't label it, that's where I can label. If I made a mistake with the label on the instrument, I can change the label right there. So for example, I didn't label my ARD, which is my live dead. So I can just type, this one is my live dead. Okay. And I want to apply that to all my samples. So I can click on my workspace, into my keyword, I can select that keyword and say copy this value to my group. It's going to apply this live dead label to all my samples. All right, so my label are correct. Now I can go back in my edit group. I can remove all my fluorochrome. I don't need it. I know they're good. So now I want to add the keyword that are going to be useful for my analysis. So I did add some keyword on the instruments. So on the acquisition software. When I add keyword on the acquisition software, I always put a star. So you see that I have this condition, D-date, HIV status, patient ID, sample ID, stimulation, T-date, all those keyword that been added on the instrument by me. So what I really need for my analysis is my patient ID and my stimulation, nothing else. I can click go, okay. And now I can see my patient ID, LD1, 2, 4, etc., and the stimulation, PID, double stimulating, one stimulation, the other one stimulation, and double non-stimulating. All right. Maybe you didn't add keyword on the instrument. So maybe you need to add keyword to organize your sample. So click on your workspace tab. You have your keyword band, and you can click on add keyword. And this add keyword, you can name that keyword the way you want. So let's call it conditions. Okay. And for this keyword, now I'm just going to label it 1, 2, 3, 4 based on my stimulation. So I can always organize my sample based on any column. So maybe if I double click on my sample name, they are organized by my sample name. So I all have my LD1 first, LD2, LD4, LD12, LD14. And now I can enter my condition. Okay. So I can enter them one by one. So say this one is 1, this one is 2, this one is 3, this one is 4, and back to 1, 2, 3, 4. Or if there's a lot of sample, I can create a keyword value series. And I create a keyword value series. It asks me for which keyword I want to create this value series. So my keyword condition, that's good. That's what I want. He asked me, do I want a numerical keyword value series or do I want a text value series? So in this case, I want numerical. It's gonna start the value with 1. Yes, that's 1. That's what I want. And the next value is gonna be the previous value plus an increment multiplied by a multiplier. So previous value is 1 plus 1 multiplied by 1, so equal 2. Okay. Well, that's what I want, so I'm fine with that. If it's not, I can change that. It's gonna fill my 20 sample, okay? It's gonna use the value once, and it's gonna start over after every 99 sample. If I don't change anything, it's going to create the value series 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, all the way to 20. Not what I want. What I really want is 1, 2, 3, 4, then back to 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, so I'm just going to say to the software, start over every 4 sample. And now it's going to say 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. Yes, that's what I want. Click OK. And there you go. You fill up everything here. All right. So now that our keywords have been entered, I can now start doing the analysis. So I'm going to double click on my sample name. It's going to open my graph window. Okay, you see my diamond is on this LD14 double simulated. In my graph windows, I have those arrows that can go from sample to sample. And you see my diamond is moving, so I know exactly where I'm located. I also have the name of my samples here on top, so I can go back to my LD14 double stimulated. You have your getting tools right here. The up and down arrows to go up and down in the analysis. Right now, we don't have anything. That's why they're grayed out. You have the undo and redo button if you need. So the default visualization in Flujo is a pseudocolor dot plot. So here's a pseudocolor. So when it's red, that means you have a lot of cells with those value. If it's blue, that's only one cells with that value. You have your axis, so run out display forward scatter versus side scatter. If I want to change that, I just click and select which parameter I want to display. If I don't like that visualization, that pseudocolor, I can change the type of graph and maybe do a contour plot or a classical dot plot or histogram or whatever I want. I like pseudocolor, so I'm going to leave it on pseudocolor. You also have the gate option when we start drawing it. So I'm going to start drawing it around my cells of interest. So my cells of interest are those. And select the cell. So select the polygonal gate, click to make an angle, double click to close it. Click on, that's my cells. So you can type anything you want. You can select also things from your favorite. If you want to add that name to your favorite, just click on the plus sign and then your list of favorites, you're gonna have that name there. All right, so you see now cells is a subpopulation of my LD14 double stimulated. You see that it's 83.7% of cells that are included into that gate and have the actual number of cells into that gate. This thing is live, so if I move it, is changed. All right, so now I want to select my cells and go deeper in my analysis. I'm just gonna double click on it. Now you open another graph window that's only containing the cells from that gate. And then now I can do a double discrimination, which is a forward scatter A versus H, and select the diagonal again. So I'm gonna select polygonal gate, double click to close it. Let's make sure I select the diagonal. So 99.5% on singlet, double click on it to only select those cells. Then I can do my live dead versus whatever side scatter. And I can select my live cells right there, live with a rectangular gate, for example, 96.1% are live, double click on it, I only select the live. And you see, you always create a subpopulation of the previous one. I can look at CD3 versus HLR-DR. And as you can see here, in this case, the display is not really good. And the separation between my CD3 negative and positive is kind of hard to see, and everything seems to be squished. So you can change your scaling by clicking on this transform button right there. So I'm going to click on it, click on customize axis. And on this customize axis, I can change the type of scales I want. So right now I display by exponential, but I can change it to linear, log, arc and age, logical, etc. by X is what I want in this case. But you see my compression around 0 is really much too strong in this case. So it's really narrow. So I want to decrease that compression. To decrease that compression, I'm going to change my width basis. It's going to change, and I like that. But now I have a lot of cells on my axis right here. Don't worry, you can add additional negative decay. There you go. And I have a lot of white space here. I don't have any cells, it seems like, after 10 to the 4th, so I can remove some positive decay. And now the display of my CD3 is better. Can do the same transformation for my DR. Go just a little bit there. And there you go. And now I can select my CD3 population and my DR population. For the DR population, we're going to change. Instead of using rectangular gate or a polygonal gate, we're going to look at the tools. We're going to use this one, which is auto gate based on the density. You see, it's following the density there. Okay, so this one is my DR population. But you're going to argue with me that I didn't select all the DR population. I'm missing some cells right there. 100% agree with you. So how do I change that? If I try to change node by node, it's going to be, crazy or way too long. The way to do it, just select your gate, go in your active gate option. Of course, we want the event inside, but what you can do now with this plus sign or minus sign, you can keep the same shape, but increasing the size. Okay, and now you can make sure I select everything. All right, so let's select our CD3 population. And now we're going to look at CD4 versus CD8. Same thing. Display squish, click on the transform button. I can change multiple axes at the same time. If I select both of them here, CD4 and CD8, and adjust it, it will adjust it for both. Okay, there you go. And now I can select a quadrant gate to separate. So classical quadrant gate or quadrant gate, taking in consideration the spread of your data. This one is called a spider gate. So it's a quadrant gate where you can change also where your axes are starting, not only the center of your quadrant. So let's take this quadrant gate. I'm going to put my quadrant gate somewhere here and it created my different. Can rename those by right clicking. I can say this one is my CD8. This one is my double positive. This one is my CD4. And this one is my double negative. Okay. Now on my CD8, I can look at my cytokine. So perforin versus cytoscaler. Go. So this one is perforin. Then look for my YRK1 and 2. Something axis is not optimal. I'm just gonna adjust it really quick. There you go. YRK1 and 2. And last one, interferon gamma. Okay. So I can apply the same gate now on my CD4 because those cytokine, well, at least interferon gamma and YRK1 and 2 are also expressed on the CD4. So I can select those and click and drag those on my CD4. Okay. And now on my CD4, if I double click on my CD4, open my CD4 population, and can look at interferon gamma versus cytoscaler, and I can see my interferon gamma gate here. So see it on my CD8 right there, see it on my CD4 right here. Okay. So they are not linked in this case. So if I move one, the other one is not moving. If you want to link them, you can do that by just right click, click on clone gate. Now you have the three dot telling there is a clone, and I can click and drag those on my CD4. I have the same three dot here. So my two interphone gamma gate are linked together. So if I modify my interphone gamma gate now on my CD8 is moving as well on my CD4. All right, so my analysis is done. In this case, I want to make sure my gate is at the right place. So I'm just gonna copy this analysis on my FMO. So I'm gonna select and click and drag that on my FMO. And you see, even if I'm on my LD group, doesn't matter. I can copy this analysis on a different group. And in my FMO, that's really where I'm gonna make sure my gate that I just drew based on my cell population that I was seeing on this sample is really at the right place. So on this first FMO is my no CD4. That means I put every fluorochrome except my CD4. That means if I go on my CD3 population, I should have no CD4 population here. So that I should have 0% in the double positive and 0% in my CD4 population here. Well, in this case, I have few cells. And there was an issue when I ran this experiment. I was running plate and I had some carryover between each well, so didn't clean my probe properly between each well. So that's why I see really a few dots. But for you, you should have nothing there. So we're just gonna make sure that I'm as low as possible. So somewhere like that. Now I can go to my next sample. An example is no CD8, so I can go next sample with the arrow. So this one is my FMO no CD8, so I should have no signal for CD8, and I can adjust my horizontal gate to make sure that I still have 0% here, but being as close as possible as my population, as my negative population in this case. Then we go to the next. The next is my FMO no DR, so I can go up in my analysis, and I can make sure that my DR gate is at the right place, etc., etc. And next one is my no interphone gamma, so I can go on my CD4 interphone gamma gate and make sure my interphone gamma gate is at the right place. When I'm happy with all the positioning of my gate on my FMO, I can select my analysis again and click and drag that on my LD sample. And my analysis on my LD sample is done. All right, so now that my analysis is done, I want to export this analysis. So I want to either export the graphical visualization of my data, so something basically what I see on my graph windows, or export the stats. So we have a lot of graph windows open. To close them, you can go in select file, close all the graph windows. So it can be also the shortcut, which on Mac is command Apple key, sorry, control Apple key, sorry, shift Apple key and W. All right, so now that we have everything closed, we're gonna open one of my layout. So I'm gonna open my layout editor, which is in my Flojo tab, navigate layout editor, or you here in the shortcut, which is this L-shaped ruler. In this case, but my layout editor. And in my layout editor, I can select the population I want to export or to display. So let's say I want to display my CD4 population. So I click and drag my CD4 population from my workspace to my layout editor. And there you go. Display my CD4 population. Okay, so the layout editor is organized the same way as your workspace. You have tab and band. So when you click on a tab, the band is changing. Right now, I'm displaying my CD4 population, and we see our interphone gamma gate. You can change everything and anything here as well. So really here, the idea is to present your data as good as possible. So don't hesitate to annotate your data, adjust your graph and everything to make sure that it's the most impactful as possible. So let's say maybe it was not interphone gamma here I wanted to display, but I wanted to display ERK1 and 2 gate. So don't worry, just double click on it. you can have your graph definition, and here you can specify your axis. So maybe you wanted ERK1 and 2 versus psi scalar instead of interferon gamma versus psi scalar. And there you go. You see your gate. I'm gonna put back on interferon gamma. Psi scalar still want to have a pseudo color. Maybe you don't. Maybe you want to change for something else. Maybe you want to do some smoothing. Maybe you want to show the outliers. Maybe you want to show large dot if it was a rare population, or maybe show grids if you're talking about cytokine expression to tell the audience, for example, is going at 10 to the 4, that people can see it really clearly. Annotation, which is right there. Do you want to see it? Yes or no? If you don't, just uncheck it. Do you want to show the gate? Do you want to show the frequency? Maybe not. Do you want to show the axis? Yes, and you can relabel your axis. So instead of having complete psi7 interferon gamma, maybe I just want to have interferon gamma versus psi scalar. There you go. Axis are relabel. Do you want to show the population name here? Yes or no? I'm gonna leave it there. You can adjunct histogram if you want as well on your next to your pseudocolor or dot plot. But most importantly, I think the function that I use the most here is to show the ancestry. And showing the ancestry here is going to tell me every gate I've done to display those cells. So I did a forward scalar, side scalar gate, double discrimination, live dead, CD3, CD4, and now I'm displaying my CD4 population. So really a quick way to show all your analysis by just selecting the last one, clicking on show ancestry, it's going to show you all your gates. So you don't have to click and drag all the individual cell population to display your analysis. The default is vertical. If you want to do a horizontal, just select horizontal there. You can also show the backgating just to make sure that you didn't get any population. So backgating is a true backgating. So we're going to apply this because we're displaying the CD4 population. We're going to create the CD4 gate on all our events. And we're going to display the cells that fall into that gate on all the events in red and show you if you cut them somewhere. So if you look, all our CD4, of course, are CD4. You see that there are some CD4 that are not positive for CD3. They are double negative or even DR positive. Makes sense. We know some monocyte can display CD4, so nothing to worry here in this case. See that some CD4 population are dead. Makes sense. There are cells that can die. Same thing. You see some CD4 that are in the doublet. There are cells that can be doublet. And you see that I select most of my CD4 with my forward scalar, side scalar gate. If I was not worry about it. FlowJo is live, so you can go here and adjust your gate, and it will be adjusted live as well. Make sure you select all your CD4. All right, and you can remove your backgating when you're done. So I personally usually keep my backgating. Because I always want to have this information, but I usually make it small, something like that, next to my graph. All right, so we're done with the annotation font. You can change the font type or the size. That's mostly for publication. If you want to do a publication, journal is going to require a specific font, specific size. So that's why you can change it. So I miss a Q&A. What's the question? I'm gonna show the stats in a few minutes. Hopefully I answered that question when I'll show it to you. All right, and the last one, legend, is when you do overlay. Okay. So now you did your analysis, you're happy with this analysis, and now you want to batch it. So you can batch it for a group of sample or for all your sample. So Usually you want to batch it for a group of samples, so you're gonna select for which group. So my LD sample, that's what I want. And I'm gonna create a batch. The way FlowJo create a batch, it's just gonna follow the order of your sample within your workspace. So all my LD1 first, and after all my LD2, then my LD4, etc. The way I want this batch to be created, in this case, it's each row I want to be one of my LD sample and each column to be one condition. So I have 4 conditions. I'm going to create 4 columns. And because it's my LD1 coming first, I'm just going to say go across column. Okay, that makes sense. I don't want to have any patch break in the middle, so I'm just going to click on separate pages so that I'm good. And I'm gonna want to create a new layout, which is what I want. And I'm gonna click on create batch. No, my batch break was not at the right place. Just gonna delete that batch and make sure by it was not. There we go. Scale to page. There you go. And batch. There you go. And now if you zoom in, all the first row is my LD1 with my 4 condition, and all my column is 1 condition. Okay, so exactly what I wanted. I can see on my page. I can save that, save export PNG, JPEG, PDF, or whatever, or I can change the number of page by just clicking on the angle of the page, and maybe I want to display that only to 1 page. And there you go. I select 1 page and I can save it again. All right, so maybe it's not what I want. Maybe I wanted to do an overlay. To do an overlay, click on the plus sign to create another layout so like that I don't delete one of those layouts. So I'm just going to select my CD4 population, click and drag this one, get another condition, click and drag my CD4 population, but this time I'm going to put it on top of each other. And there you go. I create an overlay of my 2 conditions. Okay, overlay. You can go in the legend, you can see your 2 different population, and you can see here as well what you're displaying. This is displaying subset name, sample name, and count, which is what is there. If I don't want something, I can remove the count, and I can add a stats or keyword, for example, by clicking on those icons. Okay, change that, then change the order, etc. Okay. Don't have much time on overlay, but that's how you do it most of the thing. So maybe put an histogram, in this case, apply. If I want my y-axis to be at the same height, I can say model and the same height. To display your overlay, you can right click, go all the way down to histogram. You can change to a half offset to see it better, or a full offset, or even what I like a lot for publication, a stagger offset, where you can even change the angle by moving the blue square here. All right, so let's go. Let's put the 4 condition. Sorry, we're still 3. So we have 2 condition, 3rd condition, and 4th condition. And let's pretend I miss. I didn't put it on top. Don't worry. When you go back, you see the square becoming blue. I can add it anytime. And I have my 4 condition. I can change the order I want. All right, so now that I have my 4 condition right there, I want to batch it. But you see my batch button is grayed out. Well, because FlowJo doesn't know what to batch. So you have to tell FlowJo how you want to batch it. So we're gonna do iterate by panel. And we're gonna tell FlowJo, take the first 4 samples into my workspace, overlay them, and after takes the next 4, which are all my LD2, overlay them, then create another overlay again with the next 4, which is gonna be my LD4, etc. So I do that. I just say panel, take the first 4 sample. There you go. And now the batch button is available. You can create as many columns. I don't remember how many samples we have. And there you go. I have one overlay for every condition, LD1, LD2, LD4, LD12. If your experiment was a GFP experiment, for example, and you had a universal control, cannot do that. The way you do it, you just select your universal control on your overlay, just right click on it and click on set as a control. And it will tell to keep that control in every overlay. All right, so let's go to the table editor now. The other way to export your data is your statistics. So we're going to open the table editor. So FlowJo tab, navigate table editor, or here the shortcut. Yes, your table editor. So same thing, table editor as tab, ban with all the functionality. You're going to select which population you want. So for example, I want my CD4 again. So it's saying my column 1 of my future table is going to be my CD4 population, and it's going to display my frequency of parents. So I can double click on it and change whatever stats I want. Maybe I want median presence of my interferon gamma, okay, etc., etc. That's one way to do it. The other way to do it, which personally like better, is to create my stats into my workspace and click and drag my stats. So the way I create my stats into my workspace, I just go in my workspace tab, I have my statistic here. I go on the population I want to create my stat on. So in this case, my CD4 population. And I'm going to click on my median presence for multiple parameter in this case. So I can just select one if I have one. So, but here I'm going to want to do it for interferon gamma and ERK1 and 2. So I'm just going to select choose multiple and say interferon gamma, ERK1 and 2. Click OK. Created my stat. Same for my CD8, multiple interferon gamma, ERK1 and 2. Perfect. Okay. I copy this analysis to the group so I can click and drag, but not easy. What I like better is right click, copy analysis to group. There you go. And I can click and drag there. All right, so I have my 5 columns. So column 1 is going to be my ERK1 and 2 median intensity of MFI, sorry, of ERK1 and 2 on my CD4. The other one's going to be column 2 is going to be my MFI of interferon gamma on my CD4. Then column 3 is going to be MFI of ERK1 and 2 on my CD8. Column 4 is going to be my MFI of perforin on CD8. And my column 5 is going to be MFI of interferon gamma on CD8. Maybe I want the same order between my CD4 and CD8. So I want to have this one, my perforin, after my interferon gamma. That's fine. I can just click and drag that from 4 to 5. And it's going to change it. Maybe I want to add additional columns, so I can go in edit, add column, and maybe I want to add my, I don't know, my keyword stimulation. I can add also, and then my keyword simulation, I'm going to put it between my CD4 and CD8. So on column number 3, there you go. I can add also a really complex formula if I want, with ratio and everything. You have all the function right there. All right. So when I'm happy with the table, I can just click on create table, either on the specific group or the sample. I'm just going to put it for my LD sample. That's good. And I'm going to display that table. Yes. Okay. And here I have my stats for all my sample. Each sample is a row and each column is a statistic. Can organize my sample based on my condition. Okay. And I see the value. So if I ask you, did my stimulation work or not? You're probably going to have a hard time to see. Human eye is not really well fitted to look at number. So we realize that at FlowJo. So we created this visualize tab, and now you can create, for example, a heat map based on your value. There you go. By selecting your stat, click on the heat map, and now when I create table, it's gonna be color coded. Okay, so if I base back on my condition, you see that my ERK1 and 2, my stimulation work on ERK1 and 2 is negative for my double non-simulating, and we have some ERK1 and 2 expression as soon as I have one simulation. But if you look at the interferon gamma and perforant, it's a little bit all over the place. So going back to Q&A, does that answer your question? Is there a way to change my stats on it for all the sample at once? Yeah. So you can change the frequency. So if you want to change your frequency of bands for all your sample, okay, so we just go here, frequency, you can double click and you can select frequency of total of frequency of a specific population, let's say live, for example, okay. And when you create your table, you're gonna have that stats for all your samples. All right, so we're done with the analysis. So now we want to save it. So let's click on the Flojo icon, save as. So you have different way to save it. So if you have the BD Research Cloud, you can save your workspace on BD Research Cloud. They'll allow you to access this analysis everywhere you want. You don't need to have your data and your analysis on your computer, on any computer. As long as you have access to internet, you're going to be able to pull this data and this analysis and keep doing the analysis or just show it to someone. If you don't have a BD Research Cloud, you can save as a workspace, but that will be on your local computer. Save as a workspace. And this one on the top one is really recommended when you're still working on your analysis. So that means your FCS file will be on your local computer. In this case, your analysis will be on your local computer. You're still working on it. The way Flojo works when your data is on your local computer is when you click and drag your FCS file into Flojo, what you're really doing is you're just telling Flojo where your FCS file is located. So like that when you do all your stats or when you're asking for the graph, just Flojo is going to pin that FCS file to display or calculate the value that you're requesting, which make it really functional if you have a lot of data because it doesn't really require a lot of computer power to be able to display a huge amount of data. So really a great way to save your data when you're still working on it. The issue that can happen when you save as a workspace is that your FCS files and your FlowJoS files are not really together, and they are separated. So if you try to share your analysis with someone else, or if you move your FCS file to a different location, different folder, or if you delete those FCS files, but Flojo will lose that connection and it will not display your graph or it will not display your stats. So we realize it could be an issue, especially if you try to share this data or archive this data. So that's why we created another way to save your data, which is the archive.acs. When you save as an archive, your FCS files and your Flojo analysis will be embedded, combined into one big file. So great way to share your data or store your data somewhere like that. Every time you're gonna open Flojo, everything's gonna be connected. The issue is of course, your Flojo file. This file is gonna be way bigger than the workspace because it contains everything. So if you try to do just regular analysis on it, it's gonna be a little bit slower if you don't have a powerful computer than just doing it as a workspace. So Workspace recommended that when you work on it, when you're done doing the analysis, save as an archive like that. You can move it, share it with anybody. But if you have a BD Research Cloud, it saves that issue because everything is always connected, everything is in the cloud. You can share everything there. So even in the BD Research Cloud, you have when you save your analysis, it saves the different time points, so you can go back in the past if you made a mistake. All right. In Flow, usually we when we do an experiment, we do this experiment over and over. So when you did the analysis, we have to redo this analysis on different sample many times. So you can save also your analysis as a template. So when you save as a template, you're just gonna save your analysis and your graph that you want to display, but not your FCS file. So I'm just gonna save that as a template for today. Template, okay, training. Put it on my desktop. There you go. I'm gonna delete this whole analysis that we've done for the past hour. I'm gonna open my workspace template now. So we are next day, next week, next month, doesn't matter. I have the same analysis to do on another set of sample. So I'm just gonna have to open my template. Flojo is opening. There you go. Flojo is waiting for a new set of data, so I'm gonna go get another set of data. There we go. I'm gonna select on my FCS file and click and drag my FCS file in my sample section. Okay. So really similar experiments of 38 sample as well, really the same. So because our group were live group, he automatically put my sample to the right group. So he put my 11 composition into the composition group. He put my 7 FMO in my FMO group, and he put my sample into my sample group. And he automatically apply my analysis as well. Okay. So now I can go in my layout. Okay. But when I go in my layout, he say no population. Don't worry, don't do anything. That's fine. That's normal. Because when I did my template, well, you look for a specific sample right there to be displayed, and it's not the exact same sample in this case. So the way to tell Flojo, just take whatever sample, first sample, just say iterate by sample right there, and it's just gonna take the first sample into your workspace and display it. Now, it's also a good way to overview or review your analysis. So now you can go with this arrow from sample to sample to look at your data to see if it looks great or not for this new and set of this new set of samples. Okay, everything looks good here, so I can batch. I can change, of course, my batch settings. Click on batch, get this unchanged, and I get on my batch. My overlay, this case, same as before. So take the first 4 sample, yes, so I can batch it and get the result. Now I can go to my table editor. Table editor, I have all my stats already included, so I can just create table and have my table ready. And I didn't mention it, but you can of course save your table as text, Excel, CSV, etc. Same thing as for my images, you can save those as JPEG, GIF, PDF, SVG, etc. Okay, so I redid my analysis now in few clicks instead of the hours spent with you. I see some QA. Yes, BD Research Cloud is free for a small group of users, up to 5 users. So if you're a small lab, you can create a BD Research Cloud. If you have a Flojo portal account already, it's the same. You can just put those credentials and it will automatically open your BD Research Cloud. So let's go online really quick. Like that I can show you. So go on the BD Research Cloud.com. website, open it. Here's my login information, sign in. There you go. And I have my BD Research Cloud. So I have my different organization right there. So I can go in my lab. I can see my panel. What did I do? Let's go at the different panel. So here's the different panel we created. That's the OMIP, so the one that's been published from cytometry part A, the BD predefined, the one maybe that's been shared with me, etc., etc. If I want to create a new one, just click on create panel right there. I go back to home. I can see all my cytometer that I have in my lab or in my core. So those they can be put public. So if you're a core, you can put your instrument public so that every user can access to this instrument and make sure the configuration is correct. If same thing, if your instrument is not there, you can click on add an instrument and you can create an instrument there. Reagent. Reagent, you can have all the BD catalog available, so you can look from the BD catalog, but you can also create custom reagent if they're not part of the BD catalog, or you can do the spectral viewer to see when you click on the reagent how it looks like on your instrument. Okay, and you can also do your inventory. What do you have in your fridge? So with the lot number, when it expired. Also, you can put a titration on it so that you know exactly how much to use, etc., etc. And there's a cool feature. Also, you can scan your reagent. So if you're using BD reagent, we have a QR code on it. So when you receive them, you can scan it and it will automatically add those antibody to your inventory. Same thing as well. If you're running out of antibody, you're in the lab and you take the last drop of your antibody and you say, I need to order this new one instead of trying to take a note, which is not easy. Just same thing, scan the QR code and it will so you can send it to your wish list to reorder that antibody so that you make sure that you don't forget to reorder it. Your population, I mentioned you can look for your different population. So here's all the population we have, and when we select on the population, it's telling you which marker are needed to define that population. So naive B cells need to be positive for CD19, CD20, IgD, but negative for CD27 and CD3. So now when I create my panel, instead of putting those 4 marker or 5 marker and have to remember it, I said just I want to define naive B cells, and it will automatically put those marker in my panel. Okay. And experiment, as I said, that's where you create your experiment for FACSDIB. Did possible and easy modify the analysis if the FCI is saved as SCS? Yeah, so you of course you can do it. If you save your analysis is a .scs, you can modify it. So let's see, let's do it. Save as SCS, training desktop. Um, the only really the big difference is gonna be the size of your file. So a .scs is gonna be way bigger because it contains all your FCS file plus your Flojo analysis file. When you save as a workspace, it only it's only your Flojo analysis. So because your file is bigger when you open it, it's gonna require a little bit more RAM on your computer when you adjust your gate and do everything because everything's gonna be included into that file. So if you have if you really like at the minimum required configuration to run Flojo, I will not recommend to do the analysis on the .scs. See like how big is that? Get info on the other screen. So this one is 337, and if I save it as a workspace, you go. That's 2 megabytes. So you go from 2 megabyte to 347 megabyte. So yes, you include all my FCS files here. That's why it's way bigger. And that's why it can make your computer a little bit slower if you try to do analysis. So if I totally close this analysis here, no, and open my ACS. There you go. All right, I can do anything on this file. Yeah, I can open graph, I can adjust it, I can do anything. Thing is, it's just gonna take a little bit more RAM from my computer. So my computer has a 16 gigabyte of RAM, so no issue there. But maybe your computer has only 4 gigabytes of RAM, and it may be a little bit an issue in your case. Any other questions? We're way above the hour normally allocated for this training, but happy to keep going. Have an issue for slowiness during the analysis. What is the best configuration for Flojo? Best configuration. So Flojo recommended. I think the minimum recommended is i7, 8 gigabyte of RAM. I think that's now the minimum recommended for Flojo. Really depend of your the amount of data that you have. So look at the your FCS file, basically like just your regular experiment your FCS file, and if your Mac or PC doesn't matter. Seems like seems like Mac is a little bit faster than PC. We don't know why. There's no reason in the code that Mac will be faster than PC, but in our hands, seems like it's the case, but it's not. It's not really like a big deal or a big change. So we did whatever you want. Um, just look at your regular experiment, how much data you generate, and the quantity in megabyte or gigabyte you generate for your analysis, and try to have at least 4 times this quantity for your RAM. So if you're running a 1 gigabyte experiment, so that's for the size of all your FCS files together that you're gonna put in your Flojo workspace, you need to have at least 4 gigabytes of RAM on your computer. If you're running 2 gigabytes of data in Flojo, that means you need to have at least 8 gigabytes of RAM in Flojo on your computer. That's usually a good rule of thumb to make sure that you have enough and it's not slowing down. For me, I have i9 RAMs, 16 gigabyte of RAM, and I never run any issue there. But yes, there's a question: is there a way to set up a BD Research Cloud account for an academic flow core? Yes, there's a way. You can create institution BD Research Cloud, and after each lab can have their own subsidies there. So yes, well, for sure there's a way. Just contact us, and happy to help you with that, because it will be for a big organization. So you're gonna require way more storage than just for both your user. Of course, there's gonna be a cost associated to that. So just send me an email or send an email to flojo at bd.com. for that. And if you want more information, want a full demo, same thing. Just you have my email. I'm gonna put that back on the screen. So you have my email here, nicholas.love@bd.com. Just shoot me an email, and happy to give you a full training or introduction of BD Research Lab, the 1 hour talk, or just go on our website. Where's my, did I close my web page? Yes, I did. Okay, so just go on flowjo.com. And you can click on the BD Research Cloud, and you can have some information. You can also go in the Learn webinar. And if you go in the recorded webinar, which the one from today is going to be, you're going to have also the introduction of BD Research Cloud as well, recorded. You're welcome. All right. So if there's no more question, it's my pleasure to give you this introduction of BD Research and Flowjo, and see you next time. So Florence, can I have a commercial mail? Okay, so you can just go, just Flowjo at bd.com, can email. If it's a really a dongle questions, so if you have an issue with your dongle, you can go to Flowjo office at bd.com. But the Flowjo at bd.com will send it to the group, and after, if it's not the Flowjo at bd.com is the support team. If they need someone else, they will just forward that email to the right person. All right. Thank you, everyone, and see you next time.